Hello, I'm Jenny Fern and welcome to my library. I'm a chaotic neutral mechanical engineer who's really into permaculture and wants to talk about books. So let's talk about books. So today, as a part of my 5-day 500 subscriber special, again, thank you so much. I'm so appreciative, so grateful. I didn't think that this would happen. Today, I'm going to be covering 5 nonfiction books that changed my life. Yesterday, I covered 5 fiction books that changed my life. I was just gonna do 5 books that changed my life, and I started picking them out, and I was like, well, I have to include this book, and I have to include this book, and I just couldn't include them all. So I decided to do 5 and 5, and even then, I'm like, there's books that are missing. I kind of want to do these in order, actually. So the first book that I want to talk about today is Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. The copy that I have is really beat up for some reason. I didn't read this as a physical copy when I first read it, because it was a library book rental. This book so fundamentally and thoroughly changed the way that I thought about the world, just how the world works, the context that we're in. I don't know how else to say. This was just so fundamental, such an experience. It really helped me get a little bit more clarity on what the hell is going on in the world and context. It made me see things more dissected. It was really fundamental in me being able to pick apart what happened. I don't know how else to say that, but this was such an important book for me. We're just animals pretending, aren't we? So I read the book Ishmael as well. I think I would recommend reading Ishmael first by Daniel Quinn, and then read this book maybe like a year later. This is a very dense book. It really is a brief history of humankind. It spans the span of humanity. It just changed the way that I was able to think about the world. I can't recommend this book enough. The next book that was so important to me was Becoming a Writer by Dorothea Brand. I haven't talked about this book, I don't think, at all on this channel yet, unless it's like some old video. I have always wanted to write. I think I do consider myself a writer. Obviously not my profession. You've gotten so much better at jumping recently. You don't claw into me anymore. Becoming a writer was so important to me. So I've always wanted to be a writer. Was my love way before reading books, was writing books. I was always concerned because really common writing advice is to read a lot, and I didn't read a lot as a kid. So I was like, oh my god, I don't know how people read a lot. All I want to do is write. All I want to do is tell my own stories. I'd read it before, but then I reread it. This book is so important to me for like a very personal reason. I had a big desire to write again. As a working adult, I wanted to start writing novels again and stories again. I feel like there was a piece missing from me. So I started writing again, and I found it very difficult. Like, I was not good at it, and I feel like I had been good at it in the past. Although I never had like that key breakthrough that I've had kind of since then. I'm still not very good. I went through a very significant loss to me. My mother-in-law died. So I wrote every day for a month, and I decided to then write short stories. I had been reading this book at that time, so just if writing wasn't there for me, and if this book wasn't there for me to help me structure my writing, I don't know how well I would have gotten through. This is an excellent book, in case you were wondering, for writers. Like it says, becoming a writer. It's not really about writing craft, how to become a writer. I don't know any other better way to say it, but there is also wonderful exercises. So the next book that I have is The Eternal Darkness by Robert Ballard. When did I read this? 2022. It's not that long ago. I have these little obsessions, I think. I had been obsessed with the ocean. Blue Planet, learning more about the ocean. I read Rachel Carson's Sea Around Us, and that was also life-changing because it brought me to the ocean. As much as I've read about space, learned about space, and all of these science fiction about other worlds, our oceans and the life in our oceans are fascinating. This is a personal history of deep sea exploration. We learn about what people have done to be able to explore our oceans to depths that are almost unthinkable because of how exceedingly dangerous it is. Just the ingenuity and passion, the amount that we've been able to learn from the works of these people is so inspiring. Rachel Carson's book, The Sea Around Us, she talks about some of the theories around the formation of the planet and the oceans. And at the time that she wrote that book, we did not have a conclusive agreement on plate tectonics. It's from the work of people in this book we got conclusive evidence about plate tectonics. We have so much to learn about our planet. It's just stunning to me. It's just so important. I'm a former space girly turned into an Earth girly. Space exploration is so cool. Fundamentally, our planet is beyond anything. Very seriously, the most important thing to us is our planet. I'm gonna hold this book and I'm gonna talk about this book a little bit, but really the book that's more important than this is something else, so I'll talk about that as well. I have Are Prisons Obsolete by Angela Y. Davis. I became obsessed with the US prison system after watching the show Jailbirds. I felt so much empathy towards these women in prison. Couldn't get over the fact that there are humans that we treat the way that we treat them in prison. Obviously it's a punishment, but I just couldn't stop thinking, like, these are people. So I started reading books written by prisoners. One of the books that I read was Are Prisons Obsolete by Angela Y. Davis. And this book is the book that I'm gonna recommend. Genuinely an excellent, really short, but so packed with information. You can see all of the dog ears that I have at the bottom here. There's so much information in this. It'll help you think about prison in a different way. Why do we have so many people imprisoned? We don't have to have that many people imprisoned. This is the book that I'm gonna recommend. But the book that actually changed my life is this series of journals called My Prison Journal. And it's anonymous. It's just written by this man who, he's not the most likable guy, to be completely honest. He's just a real guy. He is sentenced to 10 years in prison for trying to rob a bank, I think. He was on some sort of drugs. He was like on meth or something. He was trying to get money for him and his wife, I think. I think he had kids too. So, you know, obviously not the best guy. He is so alone. And he feels so abandoned. He definitely has some work to do on himself, but the prison does not help you work on yourself. He has been so wholly abandoned. Maybe that would open your eyes to life doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to do this. I don't want to cry, so I'm gonna stop talking about it. I think this video is gonna be shorter because I just keep not wanting to cry about things. The next and last book that I have is, I don't think it's gonna be a surprise because I've definitely talked about this book a lot on this channel. The Ways of a Mud Dauber by George D. Schaefer, a professor of Stanford. This book was published in 1949. I came across it randomly at a thrift store. A pure dive into a specific type of wasp. It's just pure scientific exploration. I don't know how to explain how much that soothes my soul. Just kind of speechless on that. There's a whole scientific aspect, how science was done by this man, the extreme love and care he exhibits towards these creatures, even though so many of them do die for his experiments. Because he has so much heart, it is exceedingly more palatable than other scientific research where they kill a bunch of animals, you know? He dedicates this book to Crumplewing. I know I've talked about this before. I've thought about getting this tattooed. That's how much it's impacted me, this dedication to Crumplewing, who was true to the tradition of all mud daubers. She honored her creator and published his name so that he who runs may read. And I know this is like a God thing, Christian thing. And I'm not, but I cannot get over how beautiful that is. And it just touches me. I'm kind of worried about rereading this, that it won't live up to the hype that I have, but then I'm also like, no, of course it will, because it's just a pure scientific exploration and a beautiful observation of this creature that people might think is insignificant. I just love that. I can't get enough of that. Those are the absolutely life-changing books that I've read that are of the nonfiction genre. I recommend all of these very highly. I just want to express my gratitude again. Thank you so much for listening to me, for being here, for commenting, for subscribing. Please, please let me know in the comments what are some nonfiction works that changed your life. Nonfiction work has such a power to it because it's real. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please consider sharing this with a friend who you think would also enjoy it. Consider liking and subscribing, and I will be back again tomorrow with a video that I have to figure out what I'm gonna do because I don't actually know yet.